We're going to try a flipped lesson with section 4 of chapter 1, multiplying integers. So you're going to write all this down in your notebook. If you need to pause the video, you can pause the video while you write everything down and then hit play when you're ready to move on. I don't expect you to know everything perfectly, but I expect you to have a basic understanding of multiplying integers. If you have questions along the way, pause the video, write the question down in your notebook, and we can go over those tomorrow during class. Once in a while, you're going to see a text box on the right. I'm going to ask you to do some calculations. You will do those in your notebook and then give me an answer so that I can see what we know before class begins. So again, write this down in your notebook. It's like you're taking notes, but you're just doing it for homework, and then we can go over it all tomorrow. Okay, so you're going to write this down. What is the product of two integers if they have the same signs? They're always positive, and if they have different signs, they're always negative. So again, you can pause the video if you need to write this down. I'm going to give you some examples to support that. So here, I have 4 times 5. They're both the same signs, equals a positive 20. Here I have a negative 4 and a negative 5, and that also is a positive 20 because two negatives together make it a positive. Okay, so two negatives, a positive. Now, what if I have opposite signs? So here I have a positive 4 and a negative 5. Well, then overall my sign is negative. Again, if I have a negative 4 and a positive 5, my overall sign is negative. So notice that here I have one negative and here I have the one negative. So they can't cross each other off, so my overall answer has to still be negative. But on my first example, I have 2 positives, so of course the answer is going to be positive. But here I have 2 negatives. Anytime you put 2 negatives together, 1, 2 negatives, you make a positive sign. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to. When you're ready to move on, I think we're going to have some practice problems. So you're going to write this down in your notebook. So make sure you copy down the original question and then your answer. So in your notebook, I should see number 1, 5 times 5, and I should see that's a positive 25. Please do all of these in your notebook, and then you should see a text box on the right. You can just list all the numbers for me, or you can put number 1 is this, number 2 is this, number 3 is this. So go ahead and pause the video, do the work in your notebook, give me an answer in the text box on the right, and then when you're ready to move on, we're going to do some more practice problems. Okay, now I want you to go back and check your answers. So you're going to go back. If you got something wrong, mark it wrong. And if you don't understand why you got it wrong, circle it so that we can go over that tomorrow. So again, you might need to pause the video, check your work, and then move on when you're ready. Okay, now we're going to look at using exponents. So again, write this in your notebook, example 3, using exponents. So remember, an exponent is the power. So here I have negative 8 to the exponent to the second exponent, or negative 8 squared. So what that really means is I'm multiplying negative 8 2 times. Now we just learned if I have 2 negatives, that makes it a positive. So my overall answer is a 64. Okay, so write that in your notebook. If you need to pause the video, pause the video. What if I have a negative 9 squared? Well, I'm probably going to do the same thing. Sorry about the formatting of this. But notice this is a little different. Okay, so if you notice, this, I'm going to write it up here. There's a negative 9 there, but there's no parentheses saying I have that squared. I just have the 9 twice. And the negative is just kind of hanging out there. So keep it hanging out there. So your overall answer is still a negative, which is different from if I had something like this. Then this would be, I have both of those parentheses twice. So my answer would be positive 81. So please notice the placement of that negative sign so that you see how the answers are different. Here's a positive answer, but this one's a negative answer. So write that in your notebook. If you need to pause the notes, go ahead and pause my video and then move on when you're ready. Okay, so what if I have something like negative 5 cubed, but I do it like this, so my negative 5 is in the parentheses. So that means I have -5 times -5 times -5. So my final answer, these two cancel each other, but I'm still left with this negative. So my final answer is -125 versus, go ahead and write all this down so you have it in your notes. If I have -5 cubed, that just means I have that negative. It's just going to hang there. And then I have 5 times 5 times 5, which in this case, it actually gives me the same answer. But notice the placement of the cube and of where the negative sign. So again, write that all in your notebook. When you're ready to move on, move on. If you need to pause the video. Now you're going to try some on your own so that I can see what you're doing. So go ahead and write these in your notebooks. Go ahead and try them. So again, remember the 2 means I want the -3 2 times, and here I have a 3, so I want the -2 3 times. Okay, so write that all down in your notebook. Go ahead and give me some answers. Put the answers in the text box on the right. Okay, please check your answers. If you got something wrong, just be honest. Circle it. Let's go over it so you know and understand it so that you do well on our next quiz. Again, if you need to pause the video, pause the video. When you're ready to move on to the next topic, go ahead and put play. Okay, everybody's favorite. Woohoo, word problems. Okay, so a pair of Converse shoes are marked down $15 each week for 3 weeks. Find the total change in price of the Converse shoes. So I'm going to ask that you copy this whole entire word problem down, and then let's go through the work. Okay, so we're looking at, we're looking at total change in the price of my shoes equals the change each week. We want to multiply that times the number of weeks. So notice this is not an exponent kind of question. So don't use exponents on this. So my total change, how much will my shoes go down? So I'm going to use VC for my Converse. The change each week is $15, and I do that for 3 weeks. So my total change is $45, and it's going to be a negative because it's going to decrease the price every week for 3 weeks. So go ahead and write that in your notebook. You should see one final text box on the right, and you're going to write down, I'm good with the exponents, or I need help with word problems. So write down what you need help with. I'll see you in class tomorrow.